The United States promises more aid to Colombia as both countries recognize 15 years of Plan Colombia, and workers in Argentina call for a strike against the government. Those are the headlines. My name is Reagan, Vignes, and welcome to From the South. First up, the Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos has met with U.S. President Barack Obama on the 15th anniversary of the U.S. military aid program known as Plan Colombia. At the end of their meeting, the U.S. President announced a new aid package to support Colombia's peace process worth $450 million a year. Reports had suggested that President Santos would be asking for up to $5 billion over the next 10 years. Earlier, the Colombian leader said the peace agreement would be based on international law.
What we have been doing, even in the preamble of all of the transitional justice agreements, is using the principles defended by the Inter-American Court of Justice as a reference. This is what gives the process a global legitimacy.
Meanwhile, in Colombia's capital, Bogota, thousands took to the streets on their bikes as the city celebrated a day without cars. The local government made bikes freely available for citizens who needed transportation and could not use their cars. The Carless Day was accompanied by an awareness campaign on the importance of limiting carbon emissions. Thousands of Venezuelans marched in Caracas to celebrate National Dignity Day. The day marks 24 years since late President Hugo Chavez rebelled against the government back in 1992. President Nicolas Maduro criticized the businessman Lorenzo Mendoza, who recently warned that the government should give more subsidies to the private sector. President Maduro gave a warning of his own, saying that powerful sectors could be launching a new campaign to harm Venezuela's economy. Workers in Argentina have left the negotiating table with the government. With the most recent hikes in electricity and gas prices, the workers have been urging the government to consider at least a 30% increase in salaries. However, the government insists it will only raise wages by 25%. Workers have called for a strike set for February 24th to protest against the government and the massive layoffs in the public sector. So far, some 40,000 people have lost their jobs in little more than a month after the new government took office. Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff issued a televised message to the nation regarding the Zika virus. The president urged citizens to help fight the virus by destroying places where the mosquito could nest. Rousseff's request comes as the country has declared an emergency due to the quick spread of the virus and the number of people affected. And still in Brazil, a group of scientific experts gathered to analyze the Zika virus. Brazil's leading biologists concluded that more evidence of sexual transmission of the virus is needed. The scientists said that despite reports indicating sexual contagion, more studies are still needed.
Thing if it is in the semen, but another if it is infections within the semen. It's not the same thing. And to find that out, you can't take semen that has the virus, an infected person. So you have to develop experiments, and that isn't done in a day.
The Mexican Attorney General's office has issued a detention order for actress Kate del Castillo due to her alleged links with drug lord Chapo Guzman. The actress had responded, saying that the Mexican government is accusing her because she found the fugitive drug trafficker before the authorities could capture him. The Attorney General, however, insists that her presumed innocence will be respected.
Effectively today, it appeared in the media that an injunction was filed here. Katie del Castillo is in her absolute right to lodge legal resources. She is a Mexican citizen, and as the Attorney General's office, we respect the presumption of innocence.
A UN working group will apparently rule that Julian Assange has been arbitrarily detained inside the Ecuadorian embassy by the UK and Sweden. Lawyers for the WikiLeaks founder say they hope this means Assange will be freed from charges. However, the British government says Assange will still be arrested if he leaves the Ecuadorian embassy. Meanwhile, Swedish prosecutors say the UN panel's decision would have an impact since it is not legally binding. The Ecuadorian government says it will provide refuge for Assange as long as he requires protection. Countries from across the world raised more than $10 billion to help in Syria's humanitarian crisis. The record-breaking sum was made at the Syria Donor Conference in London and was attended by officials from 60 countries.
As the international community raised so much money on a single day for a single crisis, the Supporting Syria and the Region Conference has been a great success.
A record-breaking 149 people were exonerated in 2015 in the United States. The average time they served before being freed was 14 years for crimes they did not commit, and a record number of exonerations were based on false confessions. 6 of them were on death row. The United States holds the highest incarceration rate worldwide.
De la población carcelaria, mientras que solo el 30% de los
Activists have protested around the world against the Trans-Pacific Partnership trade deal. 12 countries signed the biggest ever free trade deal in New Zealand on Thursday, set to be worth about $28 trillion. More protests are expected. The TPP has been criticized by experts due to the power it gives to corporate entities over sovereign nations and the secrecy of its negotiation. The first reported case of Zika in Europe has been confirmed. The patient is a pregnant woman from Spain who was most likely infected while visiting Colombia. Once again, the people of Greece protested against the government's austerity conditions demanded by the country's European creditors. A 24-hour general strike shut down transportation, schools, and non-emergency hospital services there. According to protest organizers, up to 100,000 people attended the rally, making it the largest one of its kind since the Syriza party took over. Palestinian protesters and Israeli forces clashed at a village in the West Bank after the soldiers set up a blockade there. The Israeli army claimed the village was home to assailants who carried out a deadly attack in Jerusalem. Dozens of sailboats from Cuba and the United States participated in a Conch Republic Cup regatta. This was the first event at sea in which the two countries have taken part this year. The event gave sailors from the US a chance to visit Cuba as the Caribbean nation and the United States continue to normalize relations. And final preparations are underway for Bolivia's Oruro Carnival, the most popular in the country. Our correspondent Dimitri O'Donnell has more.
Do Vargas is hard at work making accessories and costumes for Bolivia's carnival. His family have been designing elaborate outfits and masks in La Paz for more than half a century. Everything here is handmade. Each item has its own story.
This, for example, is the Skeptria Vaci, figure of the Carnival. It's the leader's baton. I make everything with a lot of care, pearls and everything. I put all the pieces together and my wife finishes them off.
Artisans work long hours in the run-up to Carnival, burning the candle at both ends to capitalise on the booming trade. Stitch by stitch, they assemble the costumes for their clients, who often spend hundreds of dollars to stand out from the competition. To make the perfect costume, you need to have lots of dedication and patience.
A mask like this takes 2 weeks, but there are masks that are bigger and with more detail. They can take up to 20 days, almost a month.
Most of these outfits, masks and accessories are bought by dancers and revellers participating in Bolivia's most famous carnival in Oruro, a mining town in the west of Bolivia. More than 50,000 people, including tourists, are expected to take part. And with each outfit bigger and better than the other, it promises to be a colourful and vibrant event. Dimitri O'Donnell, teleSur's, La Paz.
And that's how we wrap our program this evening. For more on these and other stories, please visit our website, telesurtv.net/English. You can also join us on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. For Telesur English, my name is Reagan. Vignes. Have a good evening. Bye.